Welcome to another deep dive into the world of relationships.
Mm,
Today we're going to be looking at John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
yeah,
And, I think a lot of people out there, even if they haven't read the book, they're familiar with this idea
right.
that men and women are just different.
hmm
And so we're going to be diving deep into that book, and hopefully we'll find some interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I think even for people who maybe have read it or skimmed it years ago,
Oh.
I think we can kind of go beyond the surface level and find some
Mm.
insights that might be new.
Yeah, and it's funny because right out of the gate,
Yeah,
Gray hits us with a truth bomb.
right.
He says, good intentions are not enough,
Oh, wow.
which is, I think, something we can all relate to. We expect our partners to just
Mhm.
get us,
Yeah.
to understand our needs and reactions, but
Yeah,
that's just not realistic.
yeah I think that's kind of the underlying problem that he's addressing with this book,
Right.
is that we often think we're speaking the same language, but we're not.
Yeah. And to highlight this point,
hmm
he uses this analogy of Mr. Fix-It versus the Home Improvement Committee.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen this in action?
Oh, all the time.
Like, the guy just wants to jump in and solve the problem, but the woman just wants to talk about it.
Yeah, it's that classic scenario, like in the book when Mary's telling Tom about her work problems.
Yeah.
And Tom's response is like, well, why don't you just quit?
Right.
And she's like, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
Right. She doesn't want to quit. She just wants to vent.
Yeah, it's that classic Martian move to be like, well, just fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what she needs.
Yeah, she needs empathy.
Yeah.
And she needs validation,
hmm
which I think is something that a lot of guys struggle with.
Yeah, and I think this kind of ties into a fundamental difference in how men and women often handle stress.
Okay.
So men tend to retreat and focus on finding solutions,
Mm-hmm.
whereas women seek connection through conversation.
Right. And understanding.
They want to process it out loud.
Yeah.
I I know I've been in situations where I just want to decompress after a long day and my partner wants to
Yeah.
talk about everything that happened.
Yeah, exactly. And so understanding that can be really helpful.
Hmm.
So instead of jumping into fix-it mode,
Yeah.
try just validating her feelings.
Right.
So you could say something like, wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
Or that must have been really difficult.
Yeah, because I know from experience sometimes when I'm trying to offer solutions, it just makes things worse.
Yeah, because it makes her feel like you're not listening.
Yeah, and those invalidating statements, however well intended,
Mm-hmm.
can just create more distance
Right.
and misunderstanding.
Exactly.
So we got to be careful about that.
Yeah. And speaking of different ways of communicating,
Mm-hmm.
Gray introduces this concept of men going to their caves and women riding the wave.
Okay, let's talk about that because I'm really intrigued by those metaphors. Well, the idea with men going to their caves
Right.
is that
Yeah.
men under stress, they often retreat
Mhm.
into a metaphorical space
Right.
to process their emotions internally
Right.
and regain their sense of composure.
So they're not necessarily ignoring you.
Right. It's not that they don't care.
Yeah.
It's just how they recharge.
It's their coping mechanism.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, women, on the other hand, they ride the wave of their emotions.
Okay.
So they'll experience these highs and lows,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to express and process those feelings before they can move on.
So it's important for guys to understand that when a woman's in her father, well,
Right.
she's not broken.
Exactly.
She doesn't need fixing.
Yeah. It's not a problem to be solved.
Wow.
It's a process to be honored
Yeah.
and respected.
And supported.
Exactly.
Oh.
But unfortunately, men often misinterpret this and they think they need to like swoop in and rescue their partner from her feelings.
Oh, yeah.
But that often backfires. Like in the book, he gives the example of Bill,
Mm-hmm.
who tries to cheer Mary up when she's feeling down.
Right.
And it just makes her feel even more misunderstood.
Because she doesn't want to be cheered up. She just wants to be heard.
Exactly.
So what's the best way for men to support their partners when they're riding the wave?
Well, instead of trying to fix it, just be present.
Mm-hmm.
Listen with empathy
Okay.
and validate her feelings.
So just let her know that it's okay to feel what she's feeling.
Exactly. You could say something like, it sounds like you had a really rough day.
Yeah.
I'm here for you if you want to talk about it.
Ah. So it's about holding space for her emotions.
Yeah.
Not trying to control them or fix them.
Exactly. It's about being a supportive presence,
Right.
not a knight in shining armor.
Mm-hmm. And, while it's important for men to understand the wave.
Right.
It's equally important, I think, for women to understand their own emotional cycles
Hmm.
and the power of communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why is talking through problems so crucial for women?
Well, for a lot of women,
Yeah.
talking isn't just about conveying information.
Right.
It's about processing emotions,
Oh, okay.
gaining clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling connected.
So it's not necessarily about finding immediate solutions.
Right.
It's more about feeling heard and understood.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of men misinterpret.
Yeah.
They think that if a woman is sharing her problems,
Mm-hmm.
it means she's expecting him to solve them.
Right.
But that's not always the case.
She just wants to feel connected
Yeah,
and understood.
exactly.
So guys, this is a key takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to fix her.
Yeah.
She's not broken.
Right.
Her emotional process is natural
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah, just listen with an open heart
Right.
and validate her feelings.
Now, while it's fantastic to support each other through those emotional waves and cave retreats,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's equally important to set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear more about this aspect of relationships.
Well, boundaries are essential
Mm-hmm.
for both men and women.
Okay.
They ensure that giving and receiving support
Right.
is balanced,
Right.
so that resentment doesn't creep in.
Yeah. I think sometimes setting those boundaries can be really tricky,
It can be.
especially when we're afraid of hurting our partner's feelings
Right.
or appearing uncaring.
Yeah. It's a delicate dance.
Yeah.
But it's a dance worth learning.
Okay.
You know, in the book, he gives the example of Susan and Jim.
Yeah.
And Susan was on the verge of divorce
Oh, wow.
because she felt so drained
Mm-hmm.
and overburdened
Yeah.
after years of giving without receiving.
Right.
And they went to therapy.
Yeah.
And therapy helped them to set these healthy boundaries.
Okay.
And it led to a much more fulfilling and balanced relationship.
Wow, that's a powerful example.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes we need a little outside support
Yeah.
to navigate those complex dynamics and ensure that both partners feel respected and cherished.
Absolutely.
Now, Gray also touches upon this concept
Mhm.
of the 12 types of love,
Right.
which explores how each of us has different ways of
Mhm.
giving and receiving love.
Yeah. These are often called love languages.
Yeah, I've heard about the love languages.
Yeah.
Like, we all have our own dialect
Exactly.
when it comes to expressing and experiencing love.
Yeah, and understanding your partner's primary love language can be really transformative.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to feel seen and appreciated.
Right.
For example, some people feel most loved through acts of service,
Mm-hmm.
while others thrive on words of affirmation
Yeah.
or quality time.
Right. So it's not just about speaking different languages as men and women,
Right.
but it's also about recognizing the nuances within those languages,
Mm-hmm.
those individual dialects that make each of us
Yeah,
feel cherished and understood.
that's a beautiful way to put it.
Now, speaking of communication, one of the biggest challenges I think men often face
Mm-hmm.
is learning to listen to their partner's emotional expressions
Right.
without getting angry or defensive.
It's a common struggle.
Yeah. And I'm curious to hear Gray's insights on how to navigate those
Mm-hmm.
emotionally charged conversations.
Well, one of the most important things is to remember
Yeah.
that she's from Venus,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she might communicate differently than you do.
Right.
Her emotional expression isn't a personal attack.
Right.
It's just her way of processing
Yeah.
and expressing what's going on inside.
So take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Remember those Martian-Venusian differences
Mm-hmm.
and try to approach the conversation with curiosity
Exactly.
rather than judgment.
Yeah. And another key strategy is to focus on truly listening
Mm-hmm.
and understanding her perspective
Okay.
rather than immediately jumping into problem-solving mode.
Right, because sometimes all she needs is a listening ear
Mm-hmm.
and a compassionate heart. Now, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed or Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
triggered during the conversation,
Right.
it's okay to take a time out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just communicate it clearly.
Mm.
You can say something like, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed right now. I need a few minutes to calm down so I can listen to you properly.
Right.
Can we talk about this in a little bit?
Exactly.
I think that's such a valuable tip.
Yeah.
Because sometimes taking a pause
Mm-hmm.
can prevent the conversation from escalating
Right.
into a full-blown argument.
Yeah, it's a way to de-escalate the situation.
Now, speaking of arguments, Gray delves into the reasons why couples clash,
Right.
suggesting that there are often hidden motivations
Mm-hmm.
beneath those surface-level disagreements.
Yeah, he talks about men's and women's secret reasons for arguing.
Right, so it's not just about the dirty dishes in the sink
Exactly.
or who forgot to pick up the dry cleaning.
It's about those deeper emotional needs
Hmm.
that aren't being acknowledged or met.
So for men, those unmet needs might be
Mm.
feeling unappreciated,
Yeah.
criticized, or not good enough.
Right. They might argue because they're seeking validation,
Mm.
reassurance,
Yeah.
and a sense of competence.
And for women, those unmet needs might be feeling unheard,
Yeah.
unsupported, or like their feelings are being dismissed.
Right. They might argue because they're craving connection,
Yeah.
empathy, and a sense of belonging.
And when we can recognize those underlying needs,
Yeah,
it can transform the way we approach conflict.
exactly. It shifts from a you versus me mentality
Right.
to a we're in this together perspective.
It's about understanding that we're both on the same team,
Mm-hmm.
even if we're expressing our needs in different ways.
Right.
Now, to illustrate how those communication breakdowns happen,
Yeah.
Gray breaks down the anatomy of an argument using specific examples.
He uses that classic scenario
Yeah.
of the man coming home late from work. It's a seemingly simple situation,
Yeah.
but it can easily lead to miscommunication and escalating emotions.
Okay, so let's say I'm running late. I know my partner's going to be upset.
Yeah.
How can I handle that situation?
Well, instead of
Yeah.
offering explanations,
Right.
justifications, or minimizing her feelings,
Yeah.
acknowledge her perspective
Okay.
and validate her emotions.
So I could say something like, I know you're worried because I'm late, and I'm so sorry I didn't call. I should have been more considerate of your feelings. It won't happen again.
Exactly. That's a great example
Okay.
because you're taking responsibility for your actions. You're expressing empathy for her experience,
Yeah.
and you're reassuring her that you value her feelings.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and Gray points out that these arguments,
Yeah.
they often reveal deeper issues, especially unresolved feelings from childhood
Right.
that we might be carrying into our adult relationships.
It's like those old wounds resurface when we feel triggered or threatened.
Exactly. And as we get more intimate in our relationships, more of that stuff comes to the surface.
It's like love is holding up a mirror, reflecting those parts of ourselves
Yeah.
that we might have been avoiding
Right.
or suppressing.
And those deeper feelings like shame, abandonment, rejection,
Right.
those can be really challenging to face.
And that's where therapy can be incredibly valuable
Yeah, absolutely.
because it provides a safe and supportive space to process those emotions, to heal those old wounds,
Yeah,
and to develop healthier coping mechanisms.
exactly. Because sometimes we need a little extra support to unpack all those layers and patterns that are driving our reactions and behaviors.
Now, one of the most practical pieces of advice in the book
Yeah.
is Gray's suggestion for women to use would you instead of could you when making requests.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It seems like such a subtle difference,
Right.
but I'm curious to hear more about the impact of those two little words.
No, it's fascinating because those seemingly insignificant words
Yeah.
can actually trigger very different responses in men.
Okay.
Could you often implies a question of ability,
Right.
which can make men feel like their competence is being questioned.
So it puts them on the defensive
Exactly.
before they've even had a chance to consider the request.
Right.
Would you, on the other hand,
Yeah.
frames the request as an invitation, appealing to their desire to be helpful
Right.
and supportive.
Yeah, so it's about phrasing those requests
Mm-hmm.
in a way that makes men feel trusted and appreciated
Right.
rather than challenged or criticized.
Okay.
And Gray's book has all these examples for men
Yeah.
talking about how that subtle phrasing difference can completely change their willingness to step up.
Wow.
They report feeling more respected,
Mm-hmm.
valued,
Yeah.
and eager to help. When those requests are phrased in a way that acknowledges their autonomy
Mm-hmm.
and willingness to contribute.
It's amazing how much power
Yeah.
those two little words can hold.
It's like a secret code
Yeah.
for unlocking cooperation and goodwill.
And to really understand why this shift is so important,
Yeah.
I think we need to delve into why men are often so sensitive to being asked for support.
Right.
What's going on beneath the surface?
Well, it boils down to their deep-seated need
Yeah.
for acceptance.
Okay.
They want to feel like they're good enough
Right.
just as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so Any request to be more
Yeah.
or do more
Right.
can trigger that underlying fear of not being adequate.
Yeah, like a vulnerability they're trying to protect.
Exactly. And when those requests are phrased in a way that feels critical or demanding,
Right.
it can trigger those deep-seated insecurities.
So by using would you instead of could you,
Mm-hmm.
we're shifting the dynamic from judgment to appreciation, from demand to invitation.
And that can make all the difference
Right.
in creating a positive and collaborative atmosphere.
Yeah, because when men feel trusted,
Mm-hmm.
respected,
Yeah.
and appreciated,
Right.
they're much more likely to want to show up for their partners
Exactly.
and contribute willingly.
But that's what it's all about.
And that's what it's all about.
Creating a dynamic
Yeah.
where both partners feel loved,
Mm-hmm.
supported, and fulfilled.
And Gray reminds us that love is a journey, not a destination.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
So it's about ongoing communication,
Yeah.
setting healthy boundaries, and making a conscious effort to meet each other's needs
Right.
in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling.
Exactly. And even with the best intentions
Yeah.
and communication strategies,
Right.
those Mars-Venus clashes are bound to happen.
Because relationships are dynamic
Mm-hmm.
and complex.
Yeah.
And we're all constantly evolving and learning.
So it's about embracing those challenges as opportunities for growth,
Right.
recognizing that those bumps in the road
Yeah.
can actually strengthen our bond and deepen
Yeah.
our connection.
If we approach them with curiosity
Yeah.
and a willingness to understand
Thank
each
you.
other's perspectives.
And it's about remembering that love is a choice
Mm-hmm.
we make every day
Yeah.
to show up for our partner,
Even when it's hard.
even when it's hard.
To choose love even when we're feeling frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
hurt,
Yeah.
or disconnected.
Because it's in those moments of choice
Right.
that we truly reveal the depth of our love
Mm.
and commitment.
Well, this has been really enlightening. It's
Yeah.
like I've been given a secret decoder ring
Mm-hmm.
for understanding those communication patterns
Right.
that can create so much conflict in relationships.
Yeah. And we've only just scratched the surface.
No.
There's so much more to explore.
Stay tuned for part 2.
We're going to dive even deeper
Into the secrets
Mhm.
of men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
and uncover even more practical tips
Okay.
for creating loving and fulfilling relationships.
All right. Sounds good.
See you then. And in part 2, we're going to be picking up where we left off.
Yeah, we were talking about those Mars-Venus communication breakdowns.
Exactly, and how to avoid them.
Okay, so what can we do?
Well, one of the most powerful concepts in the book is what Gray calls the 90-10 principle.
Okay, 90-10 principle. What's that all about?
Have you ever noticed how sometimes you can be completely thrown off balance
Oh, yeah.
by something your partner says or does,
Mm-hmm.
and you have this like intense reaction that seems out of proportion to the situation?
Totally. Like, it's like suddenly you're back in, like, childhood drama, and all those old insecurities come flooding back.
That's exactly what the 90-10 principle is all about.
Okay.
It suggests that when we're upset in a relationship, 90% of that upset is usually rooted in our past.
Wow, 90%.
Yeah, it's those unresolved feelings and experiences that have nothing to do with our partner or the current situation.
So only about 10% is actually related to what's happening in the present moment.
Exactly.
Wow, that's pretty eye-opening.
It is, isn't it?
It makes you realize that sometimes we're not even reacting to our partner.
Mm-hmm.
We're reacting to our own baggage.
Right. All those invisible wounds we carry from our past.
So how can we become more aware of those triggers and prevent those past hurts from kind of hijacking our relationships?
That's where self-awareness and introspection come in.
Okay.
Gray encourages us to really explore those deeper emotional patterns,
Mm-hmm.
to understand those sensitive spots that tend to get activated in our relationships.
So it's about recognizing those moments when we're overreacting or we're projecting our past onto the present situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where therapy can be incredibly valuable
Right.
because it provides that safe and supportive space
Mm-hmm.
to unpack those emotional patterns,
Yeah.
heal those old wounds,
Yeah.
and develop healthier ways of relating to ourselves and our partners.
Because if we can resolve those old wounds,
Yeah.
we'll be less reactive,
Mm-hmm.
more resilient,
Right.
and more capable of responding to our partner from a place of love and understanding,
Exactly.
rather than fear and insecurity.
It's about taking responsibility for our own emotional well-being
Right.
so we can show up in our relationships as the best versions of ourselves.
It's about healing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
so we can create healthier and more fulfilling relationships.
Now, Gray also points out that those deeper feelings often surface when we feel safe and loved
Oh, that's interesting.
in a relationship.
Okay.
It's like the paradox of love.
Mm-hmm.
The closer we get, the more vulnerable we become.
Right.
And that vulnerability can bring up all those fears and insecurities
Yeah.
that we might have been suppressing for years.
So like love cracks us open,
Yeah,
exposing those tender parts of ourselves that we've been trying to protect.
exactly. And that can be both terrifying and liberating. Okay, how so?
Well, it's terrifying because it forces us to confront those parts of ourselves that we might have been running from.
Yeah.
But it's also liberating because it allows us to heal those wounds and experience a deeper level of intimacy and connection.
So how can we navigate those challenging moments when those deeper feelings surface?
Yeah, it's about cultivating a foundation of trust, empathy,
Okay.
and unconditional love.
And reminding ourselves that we're all works in progress.
Right. Perfection is an illusion.
Yeah.
It's about embracing those imperfections as part of what makes us unique and lovable.
It's about creating a space where it's okay to be messy, to be human, to be vulnerable without fear of being shamed or criticized.
And Gray also talks about the different seasons of love.
Okay, the seasons of love, I like
Yeah,
that.
it's not always springtime, right?
No, it's not.
Relationships like nature, they go through cycles of growth, change, and renewal.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses the analogy of spring, summer, fall, and winter.
To describe these natural ebbs and flows of a relationship.
I love that analogy. It reminds us that relationships aren't meant to be a constant state of bliss.
Right.
They're meant to be a journey with twists and turns and unexpected detours.
So springtime, that's that magical time of new beginnings,
Yeah.
when everything is fresh and exciting.
Right, the honeymoon phase.
Exactly. You're blinded by love. Everything feels effortless and enchanting.
Like we're floating on a cloud of love hormones,
Yeah.
oblivious to the realities of everyday life.
But then summertime arrives,
Uh-oh.
and that's when the real work begins.
Okay.
We start to see our partner's flaws,
Yeah,
and those initial sparks might fade a bit.
right.
We're coming down from that love high, and we have to face the realities of building a life together.
The rose-colored glasses come off.
Right.
And we start to see our partner as they truly are.
Warts and all.
Exactly.
And that's when it's crucial to nurture our partner's needs and ask for the love we need. Love doesn't just happen.
Right.
It requires effort,
Right.
intention,
Yeah.
and a willingness to show up for each other, even when it's hard.
So summer is a time for growth, connection, and deepening our understanding of each other.
Yeah, it's about learning to communicate effectively, to navigate those differences,
Right.
and to work through those inevitable challenges that arise as we merge our lives.
And that can feel like hard work sometimes.
It can.
Especially when we're juggling busy schedules, demanding careers,
Yeah.
and the daily stresses of life.
But it's worth the effort.
Is it?
Because if we neglect our relationship during the summer,
Yeah.
we might find ourselves in the fall.
Uh-oh. What happens in the fall?
Well, that's when things start to feel dry, distant, and disconnected.
Okay.
Resentment can build.
Mm.
Communication can break down.
Right.
And we might start to question whether we're truly compatible
Oh, no.
or whether this relationship is worth fighting for.
It's like the leaves are changing color, and there's a sense of something precious fading away.
But even fall can be a beautiful season
Okay.
if we're willing to let go of old hurts, to forgive,
Yeah.
to reevaluate our needs,
Okay.
and to make space for renewal.
So it's about recognizing the cycles of nature and understanding that even in the midst of challenges, there's always the potential for growth and transformation.
Exactly. It's about accepting that change is inevitable
Right.
and that those shifts can actually strengthen our bond if we approach them with open hearts and a willingness to adapt and evolve.
And then there's winter.
Winter.
What happens in the winter?
Winter is a time for reflection and introspection
Okay.
and appreciating the warmth and comfort of the love we've built together.
So it's like cozying up by the metaphorical fire
Exactly.
and cherishing that deep connection we've created, knowing that we've weathered those storms together
Right.
and come out stronger on the other side.
It's about recognizing that even in the depths of winter, there's the promise of spring, the potential for new beginnings,
Right.
a rekindling of passion,
Yeah.
and a fresh appreciation for the love we share.
That's beautiful.
And that's what makes love so extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's a journey with seasons, with challenges, with moments of doubt and uncertainty.
Right.
But it's also a journey filled with joy, growth,
Yeah.
and the profound satisfaction of creating something meaningful and lasting with another human being.
It's a reminder that love isn't a destination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey of discovery, growth, and transformation.
Exactly. And it's a journey that's much more enjoyable
Yeah.
when we have the tools and understanding to navigate those inevitable challenges along the way.
And Gray's point is that love is a choice.
It is.
It's a commitment we make every day to show up for our partner.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard to choose love, even when we're feeling frustrated,
Right.
hurt, or disconnected.
Because it's in those moments of choice.
That we truly reveal the depth of our love and commitment.
And that choice is what keeps the magic of love alive.
Exactly.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We've uncovered so much already about, those Mars-Venus differences and how they can play out in our relationships. And now I'm really excited to hear more about Gray's secrets for keeping the magic of love alive.
Right.
What are those key ingredients that help relationships not just survive, but thrive?
Well, one of the most powerful concepts in the book is what Gray calls the 90-10 principle.
Okay, 90-10 principle, tell me more.
Have you ever noticed how sometimes you can be completely thrown off balance
Oh, yeah.
by something your partner says or does, and you have this intense reaction that just seems completely out of proportion to the situation?
Totally. You're suddenly transported back to some childhood drama,
Exactly.
and all those old insecurities come flooding back. That's exactly what the 90-10 principle is all about.
Okay.
It suggests that when we're upset in a relationship, 90% of that upset is usually rooted in our past.
90%, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's those unresolved feelings and experiences that have nothing to do with our partner or the current situation.
So only about 10% is actually related to what's happening right now.
Right.
Wow, that's pretty eye-opening.
It is, isn't it?
It makes you realize that, sometimes we're not even reacting to our partner.
Right.
We're reacting to our own baggage.
Our own past.
All those invisible wounds we carry from our past.
Exactly.
So how can we become more aware of those triggers and prevent those past hurts from, hijacking our relationships?
Well, that's where self-awareness and introspection come in.
Okay.
Gray encourages us to really explore those deeper emotional patterns, to understand those sensitive spots that tend to get activated in our relationship.
So recognizing those moments when we're overreacting. Yeah.
Or we're projecting our past onto the present situation.
Exactly. And this is where therapy can be incredibly valuable because it provides that safe and supportive space
Right.
to unpack those emotional patterns,
Yeah.
heal those old wounds, and develop healthier ways of relating to ourselves and our partners.
Because if we can resolve those old wounds, then we'll be less reactive,
Right.
more resilient,
Exactly.
and more capable of responding to our partner from a place of love and understanding rather than fear and insecurity.
It's about taking responsibility for our own emotional well-being.
Right.
So we can show up in our relationships as the best versions of ourselves.
It's about healing ourselves so we can create healthier and more fulfilling relationships.
Now, Gray also points out that those deeper feelings often surface when we feel safe and loved
Well, that's interesting.
in a relationship.
So the closer we get, the more vulnerable we become.
And that vulnerability can bring up those fears
Yeah.
and insecurities that we might have been suppressing for years.
It's like the paradox of love.
Right?
The closer we get, the more we risk getting hurt.
Yeah, like love cracks us open, exposing those tender parts of ourselves.
Yeah, those parts that we've been trying to protect.
Exactly.
And that can be both terrifying and liberating.
Okay, so
Well, it's terrifying because it forces us to confront those parts of ourselves that we might have been running from.
right, like we have to face our shadows.
Exactly, but it's also liberating
Okay.
because it allows us to heal those wounds
Mm-hmm.
and experience a deeper level of intimacy
Yeah.
and connection.
So how can we navigate those challenging moments when those deeper feelings surface?
Well, it's about cultivating a foundation of trust,
Mm.
empathy, and unconditional love.
It's about creating a safe space
Yeah.
where we can be vulnerable without fear of judgment.
And reminding ourselves that we're all works in progress.
Right.
Perfection is an illusion.
Yeah.
It's about embracing those imperfections as part of what makes us unique and lovable.
It's about creating a space where it's okay to be messy,
Right.
to be human,
Mm-hmm.
to be vulnerable without fear of being shamed or criticized.
And Gray also talks about the different seasons of love.
Oh, the seasons of love. I like this.
Yeah, it's not always springtime, is it?
No, it's not.
Relationships, just like nature, go through cycles
Mm-hmm.
of growth, change, and renewal.
And he uses this analogy of spring, summer, fall, and winter
Right.
to describe these natural ebbs and flows of a
Yeah.
relationship.
So springtime, that's that magical time of new beginnings.
Yeah.
Everything is fresh and exciting.
Right, we're blinded by love.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase,
Yes.
everything feels effortless
Yeah.
and enchanting.
It's like we're floating on a cloud of love hormones.
Right.
Oblivious to the realities of everyday life.
But then summertime arrives,
Oh.
and that's when the real work begins. We start to see our partner's flaws,
Right.
and those initial sparks might fade a bit.
Yeah, the rose-colored glasses come off,
Right.
and we start to see our partner as they truly are.
Warts and all.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when it's crucial to nurture our partner's needs and ask for the love we need.
Right, because love doesn't just happen.
It doesn't.
It requires effort, intention,
Mm-hmm.
a willingness to show up for each other,
Right.
even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
So summer is a time for growth connection,
Mm-hmm.
deepening our understanding of each other.
It's about learning to communicate. We might find ourselves in the fall.
Uh-oh, what happens in the fall?
Well, that's when things start to feel dry, distant, disconnected.
Uh-huh.
Resentment can build.
Mm-hmm.
Communication can break down.
Yeah.
And we might start to question,
Yeah.
whether we're truly compatible
Right.
or whether this relationship is even worth fighting for.
It's like the leaves are changing color,
Yeah.
and there's a sense of something precious fading away.
But even fall can be a beautiful season
Oh.
if we're willing to let go of old hurts, to forgive,
Yeah.
to reevaluate our needs,
Right.
and make space for renewal.
So it's about recognizing the cycles of nature
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that even in the midst of challenges,
Yeah.
there's always the potential for growth and transformation.
It's about accepting that change is inevitable
Right.
and that those shifts can actually strengthen our bond
Mm-hmm.
if we approach them with open hearts and a willingness to adapt and
Yeah.
evolve.
And then there's winter. What happens in the winter?
Well, winter is a time for reflection, introspection,
Okay.
and appreciating the warmth and comfort of the love we've built together.
So it's like cozying up by the fire
Exactly.
and cherishing that deep connection,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we've weathered the storms together
Right.
and come out stronger on the other side.
And recognizing that even in the depths of winter, there's the promise of spring.
A hope.
Yeah, the potential for new beginnings, a rekindling of passion,
A fresh start.
a fresh appreciation for the love we share.
I love that.
And that's what makes love so extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's a journey with seasons with challenges, with moments of doubt and uncertainty.
Right. But it's also a journey filled with joy, growth, and the profound satisfaction
Right.
of creating something meaningful and lasting
Yeah.
with another human being.
It's a reminder that love isn't a destination.
Right.
It's a journey of discovery, growth, and transformation.
And it's a journey that's much more enjoyable when we have the tools
And understanding to navigate those inevitable challenges along the way.
And Gray's point is that love is a choice.
It is a choice.
It's a commitment we make every day
Yeah.
to show up for our partner,
To choose love.
to choose love even when it's hard,
Even when it's hard.
even when we're feeling frustrated,
Yeah.
hurt, disconnected.
Because it's in those moments of choice
Yeah.
that we reveal the depth of our love and our commitment.
And that choice is what keeps the magic of love alive.
Well, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
It's given me a whole new framework for understanding those, age-old Mars-Venus differences and those communication patterns that can create so much conflict in relationships. But more importantly, I think it's given us some practical tools
Yeah, I hope so.
for communicating more effectively, meeting each other's needs, and nurturing a deeper connection.
Absolutely.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
What's one small change you can make in your communication today,
Yeah.
inspired by this deep dive, that might create a ripple effect of positive change in your relationship?
Right.
It might be a simple shift in language, a commitment to listening more deeply,
Yeah.
or a conscious effort to validate your partner's feelings.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is, I encourage you to take action and watch how those small changes can transform your relationship in profound ways.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It
how
is.
those little things can make such a big difference.
Yeah. So until next time, keep exploring, keep
Yep.
learning, and keep loving.
That's beautiful advice.
Yeah.